Hi folks, welcome to another video of Ask Code Tutor. Couple of weeks back I had asked you to post some questions and I got a couple of questions. It was not surprising that the flavor of the season is AI and most of questions were related to AI and its impact and how do we navigate this new era. And then there are a couple of other Android related questions as well. So I will just take this opportunity to answer these questions. So what is the first question? The first question is how is AI going to change the way we do Android application development in your perspective? And there is another follow-up. What is the future of app developers? Let's not think just about the Android application development. Just software development in general basically comes under the whole umbrella. App development or mobile app development is just a small subset of the overall software engineering. AI has changed a lot the way in which the developers work nowadays. And especially since last couple of months, 18 months, since I would say Codex and Opus that have come into the picture, there is a sudden change in the way applications are being written by the developers and the way whole organizational structure is being challenged. And no wonder the huge number of layoffs that are happening because of AI is also the thing. I was just going through couple of blogs and couple of Reddit communities. I have heard that it has been almost couple of months in companies like Anthropic and Codex where reputed engineers have not written a single line of code for last couple of months. People are saying that almost 80 to 85% of the code is being written by AI and it's only the last 20 to 15% of the work that is being done by the developers. So the collaboration that used to happen between the AI and humans, which was to some extent 50-50, has now come to a stage where it is almost 80-20. 80% of the coding is done by AI and only the 20-15% of the minute corrections or fixing is done by the developer. But that last 20% and 15%, the last mile to make sure that the application does exactly what it is supposed to do is the game changer. That is where the human judgment value is going to come into the picture. I have heard that for that last 15 to 20% of the work that the human judgment adds a value to the work done by the AI, you need to pay almost 3 times more than a regular software engineer because that is the difference between what will happen with AI and without AI. I had already made a video how the AI is changing the expectation of the developers, how the role compression is happening. That video pretty much explains what I think about what is happening because of AI. And then I had also done a video about the 5 levels of automation, fifth level of automation, which is AI software factory. And that is where we are actually headed. Right now, it looks like a fiction, but we know that at some point in time we are going to reach that particular level. When we are going to reach that particular level, the kind of skills that are expected from the software developers would be completely different from what we are expecting right now. It also puts a lot of pressure on the freshers or developers who are just starting their career because they cannot have a same kind of value judgment or the system thinking that most of the senior developers who have gone through the whole 9 years over last couple of decades might have. So yeah, this is an uncertainty that we are living in, and we don't know where we are actually headed. I mean, if you are looking for some kind of a solace to find from what I might say, sorry to disappoint you, but that is the situation. Right now, this is like a unknown sea. Everybody is still very unsure where we are headed. So let us wait and watch where this is goes. What future for the app developers? I think same. We still don't know. The cost of coding has come down significantly. Physical act of writing the code, if that was what the key skill, if it was considered as a key skill couple of years back, now it is not a key skill anymore. So if you are thinking that it is coding because of which I am going to clear the interview or going to stay at a particular organization for the long time, then I think we have reached a stage that is not the key differentiator now. What differentiates you from probably other developers is, can you collaborate well with AI tools? Can you orchestrate agentic flows? Can you write very good specs? Can you validate whatever the output that has come from the AI agents and say that it is correct? And how do you prove that whether it is correct? What are the structures and thinking that you are going to bring to the table to basically ensure that the AI generated code is correct? Those are the things that are going to really be the new set of skills that will be expected out of a developer. So yeah, I suggest that try to develop those kinds of skill to really differentiate yourself from the others. Next question: with AI on rise, there is a significant change in the way interviews are done. Yes, it depends upon the organization. Wherever there are organizations which are heavily using AI, they are actually expecting users to showcase or demonstrate how they are using AI to come up with the solution. I recently read somewhere that Meta has actually started asking during the interview process itself to basically demonstrate how good the candidate is with AI native skills. When I say AI native skills, basically, are you able to collaborate with AI tools and use it in a way to come up with a very detailed specs about the problem space, then come up with a detailed architecture, then spec it out completely so that AI can follow it, and then iteratively refine specification, and then collaboratively develop, and it can go on and on and on. It's important that the engineer knows the basic things like data structures and algorithms, system thinking, all those things. But then they want to really simulate a work environment during the interview process itself and want to see whether candidate is able to collaboratively deliver a solution using AI frameworks. So yeah, I think that is something that all developers will have to think about and prepare for when they are going to appear for the interviews in the next upcoming days. Now the question is, how do you prepare for these kind of interviews? I mean, traditionally the interviews have been a lot of data structure and algorithms, a lot of system thinking, lot of architecture thinking related questions, and even coding related things. But nowadays, because of AI, probably you will actually never write the code, most likely. What, however, you will end up writing is specs. Specs is the new programming language. How well you can write the specs, how well you can validate the specs that you have written are correct so that the AI will interpret it properly, and how well you are able to debug the application that is generated by AI. I mean, the code that is generated by the AI. Can you explain the code that is written by AI? I read somewhere in a Reddit community page where the interviewer basically asked, can you explain the code written by AI? So, in a way, we are reaching a situation where they are saying that I don't care if you use AI to write the code, but what I really care is, can you explain the code written by the AI? When I say, can you explain the code? Can you understand? Can you debug? Can you log? Can you interpret what spec led to what code? And if you want to refine it, how will you refine it so that it exactly gives you the kind of code that you want given a detailed specification? Can you iteratively refine your specifications? So that is the new kind of interview structure that we might actually see in the future. Next question: what impact will AI have on the project managers and program managers? Before I answer what impact I will have, let me think or openly think about what are the tasks that traditional project managers or program managers are typically responsible for. I would say planning the scope. They usually are responsible for the budgeting, establishing the dependencies, identifying the dependencies, identifying the risks, flagging the risks, running the status meetings, then probably progress tracking, coordination between the teams within the project, and if you are a program manager across multiple projects, stakeholder communication, communication within the team, outside the team, escalation, decision making, and follow through with the decisions, and basically making sure that delivery is predictable. And then of course the human resource management. You basically allocate the people to the projects or multiple projects depending upon the skills and the priority of the work that needs to be delivered. This is what typical project manager or program manager responsibility or roles and responsibility looked like or looks like as of now. Now, what has happened after AI has come? You might have already seen that nowadays, whenever we have any meetings, there is a already AI enabled tool that runs within most of these meeting rooms, which basically takes care of all the meeting notes. So very rarely nowadays you manually write MOMs. It identifies the actionable items, it identifies the risks, it identifies the stakeholders, and attaches the actionable items to the people who are supposed to act upon them. So some of the major things that the project managers used to do is done by the AI to a great extent. So AI is already automating or compressing most of the repeatable parts of the job that the program managers used to do. What are the new responsibilities? Because if AI is doing most of it and the number of engineers is getting reduced within the team, then what exactly will be the new roles and responsibilities that the project managers and program managers would be expected to do? I think in that case, they will have to move beyond what AI is already automating. Because the teams are adopting AI workflows in their delivery, the program managers will have to become very familiar with how teams are using AI enabled tools and AI frameworks for doing the delivery. So, program managers will have to redesign how the work is getting delivered, not just track the work, completely redesign how the work is supposed to be delivered. They will have to come up with a orchestration mechanism which will help the teams to collaboratively work with AIs. Earlier, it used to be completely human driven. Now, because there is a AI, they will have to come up with a mechanism on how to integrate AI in the workflows of the team delivery so that the delivery becomes much more predictable and efficient. AI will give you lot of information. Actually, it will be too much of information. It will be the project managers and program managers' responsibility to actually synthesize that information and arrive at a quality decision, because AI will not do a decision. It will do the decision, but once again, that decision, who is accountable? Are you going to hold AI accountable? So I think the quality of decision making, which is driven by AI data points, those would be the new set of skills that will be required from the program managers. Of course, they will have to handle the ambiguity within the teams. That is where AI is still not very good at. I mean, the team politics, the office politics, the team dynamics, all those things, AI is not good and probably will never be good at managing those things. If the old program managers were like schedulers, trackers, coordinators, or say escalation matrix holders, the new program manager will have to change. They will have to think more like a workflow designer or a AI orchestrator or a prioritization lead, decision integrator, integrate with AI workflows. How to integrate decision making with the hybrid work culture now that is going to come into the picture. I hope that I have answered this particular question. I have never worked in that particular role. I would like to hear from the program managers and the project managers what they have been experiencing over the last couple of months actually. Then there is a question, what do you think about KMP? Will KMP get a boom in India? I think the next question also I can take. What are your takes on Flutter versus native as a career choice? KMP, that is Kotlin Multiplatform, it is one of the cross-platform for the mobile application. React Native is the most popular one and one of the oldest one, and KMP is from JetBrains. It basically works on Kotlin and supports both Android and iOS. Adoption of the KMP has been increasing steadily. Just around 2024 in India, at least according to some survey, developer survey, the KMP adoption was somewhere around 7%. In 25, it has risen to 18%. So definitely it is growing, and the reason might not be very obvious, but if you look at it, the people who are adopting KMP are basically those who want a complete native experience, but they still share certain logic between Android and iOS. So they don't want to compromise anything in terms of, say, sensor integration or a Bluetooth integration, those kind of stuff. So they want all the native capabilities without compromising any native capabilities. They want native look and feel, native performance, everything, and yet still want to have a kind of a plumbing logic which works across both Android and iOS, and they don't have to rewrite that part. They want to share that part of the logic. So such organizations are typically going for the KMP, and KMP adoption has been mainly in the enterprise space. Lot of big organizations are adopting KMP as a cross-platform rather than relying on React Native or Flutter. Flutter is also a very popular cross-platform. I would say it is actually more popular than KMP and little bit less popular than React Native. React Native is still number one cross-platform when it comes to mobile application development. And then mass adoption after React Native, I would say Flutter. Anybody who wants to do a direct cross-platform development, instead of React Native, they want to choose something else, they are using Flutter. But the only some of the reason why Flutter is not being used in certain highly regulated industries is because it doesn't support some of the very native features. For example, if you go through the Flutter documentation, it explicitly tells that it doesn't support classic Bluetooth. If you are aware, there are two types of Bluetooth, the classic and BLE. It only supports BLE. But if you have some legacy application which uses classic Bluetooth, then you can't use Flutter. And there are quite a amount of applications out there in the world where you really need to support classic Bluetooth. So in that case, what will you do? You can't use Flutter. So you have to go with native or KMP, which is going to, of course, support this thing. Flutter is still good. I mean, if you don't want to use React Native and you don't have much background on native development and you are thinking of something other than this, then Flutter is perfectly fine. Most of performant applications are built with Flutter, but then there are equally very good applications which are built with KMP. And career choice as a Flutter and native, I think native is definitely needed. Regardless of whether you choose Flutter, React Native or KMP, you should know native, at least one native Android or native iOS. I mean, if you are able to master both native Android and native iOS, very well and good for you. But don't beat yourself to death if you are not able to master both the native platforms. Be very good at least with one native and then any of the other cross platforms. That should be good enough. And in the long run, I would say that don't think yourself as just a mobile developer. Think like a front end application developer, and mobile is just one front end. Yeah, that's what I would say. That's all most of the questions that I had been asked. Thanks for the questions that you had posed, and hopefully I have been able to answer them without causing much confusion. So thanks for your time, and do comment down below whatever your thoughts are about this particular video. Thanks for your time. Take care. That brings us to the end of this particular video. Don't forget to like, comment, share the video and subscribe to the channel. Take care. Bye.